Okay, so here's the science behind abuse and fear, right? I broke it down. Now, one thing I like to do is I like to look at the definitions of words, right? Because the definitions of words help us to understand concepts a little more clearly, right? And so I understand abuse to be a dark magic tool, right? I wrote this down. It's designed to violate your boundaries in such a way that brings in intimidation and fear. And so when we look up the definition of fear, right? Why would someone or something that's abusing you, why are they so investing so much energy into having you fear them and to intimidating you, right? Now let's look up the definition of fear so that we can understand that. Fear is unpleasant or strong emotions caused by anticipation or awareness of danger, right? Second definition, profound. This one is deep. The second definition. Okay, listen. Profound reverence and awe, especially towards God. Okay, so we've heard in religious texts the term fear being used in that way, right? You're supposed to fear God, right? We've heard that, right? Or we've heard the phrase, someone saying, I'm gonna put the fear of God in you, right? Right? So I love this definition of fear. Like, I absolutely positively love it. I feel like that's the correct definition. That is the definition of all definitions. Why? Because what's the definition of God, right? And I looked these up in Merriam-Webster, which is a very reputable dictionary, okay? So Merriam-Webster says, a God is a person or thing of supreme value. They also say, second definition, a being or object that is worshipped as having more than natural powers and attributes. More than natural powers and attributes. A being that is worshipped as having more than natural powers and attributes. That means and then the third version, the supreme or ultimate reality, right? But the second definition, a being or object that is worshipped as having more than natural powers and attributes. That means that anyone can exalt any other person or being or thing as God, as long as that person believes and exalts that person, believes that that person has more than natural powers and attributes, right? So when you fear someone or something, you fear that it has extraordinary value to create unwanted, unnecessary circumstances in your life. You fear that it has more value than yourself, and that it is that it has more than natural powers and attributes to ultimately override what you're creating for yourself in your life, right? And so abuse is designed to instill that level of fear within you. That's why there are abusive people. That's why there are abusive systems. That's why abuse exists. Because it is, if someone abuses another person, right, they have just, and they do it often enough, right, especially if it's chronic, their goal, and inevitably what tends to happen is that they'll gain another follower in their religion. And that religion is fear me, for I am God over your life. They've also gained influence over you, or over that person, obviously, right? Because fear is influence. It's a strong motivator. It's a strong influence, right? The opposite of fear, the opposite of abuse is nurturing, right? Nurturing, when you nurture someone, or when someone nurtures you or another person, right? Nurturing, what it does is it fosters confidence. It fosters love, growth. It fosters hope, right? And it influences that person who's being nurtured to believe in themselves, because the love that they're receiving causes it fills their cup and causes them to believe that they're worthy of these beautiful things that are being given to them, just by virtue of it, of them receiving that kind of treatment and companionship and leadership and nurturing leadership. And so if I nurture you, I achieve an influence over you, right? But my influence is more so not to influence you to fear me or to follow me, but my influence is to influence you to build yourself, right? To build you up, right? So that you believe in yourself. And so nurture and abuse are two sides of the same coin. The abuse is the dark magic tool. The nurture is the light magic tool. And so people who want influence, right, who want power for themselves, right, and they don't have people and systems. I also want to say systems, because systems can be abusive. There's other entities outside of individuals that can be abusive, right? When I want to harness that power for myself, when I don't have the love within myself to nurture, and I don't want to nurture, I resort to abuse, right? And that's how I gain power. And the more people I abuse, without consequence, the more power that I have. False power, because there's karma for everything. That's another story, right? But I'm here to help people understand what the science of it, right? Why it happens, why it exists, and why it's pervasive throughout the world and throughout the experience of human beings. So how do you circumvent that chain reaction that comes from abuse, of the fear, of then the fear translating to subconsciously exalting someone as the God of our lives, right? Or someone or something. How do we circumvent that? Well, we're human, right? Fear is natural. Abuse breeds fear, so it is a natural thing to be afraid of abuse, right? But the way to overcome that in the subconscious mind first, right, before doing anything in the physical realm, and also in the subconscious and in the spiritual realm, is to revoke it, is to rebuke it, right? Because when we fear someone or something because it has crossed our boundaries repeatedly and created negative experiences within our lives, we put that entity, that being, that system, that person, those people on the throne. Like, imagine your mind, right, your brain, and your subconscious mind, right? Not your conscious mind, but your subconscious mind. There's someone who sits on the throne in there. Just imagine this realm here, right? This realm, imagine it as a realm, not even just this physical space, but it's a realm, right? Your crown chakra. There's someone who sits on the throne in your subconscious mind. Someone, something, and it is pulling the strings of what you believe, of how you think, and then ultimately how you act, how you behave, right? And so when we fear someone or something so much, that person or thing is sitting on that throne, right? Because we're looking at that entity as someone with more than natural powers and attributes, the supreme or ultimate reality, the creator of our reality. And so what we have to do is just revoke that power, right? The way that we revoke that power is, first of all, by declaring it. And another word that you could use for declaring it is prayer, right? That's just what prayer is making declaration into the universe. Because when you speak, right, when you have a thought and then you speak, you alter the atmosphere of the universe, and especially your universe, right? So when you speak, I decree and declare that I am the God of my life. I sit on the throne of my life. I sit on the throne of my subconscious mind. I sit on the throne on the seat of my spirit. Me and only me. And I decree and declare that anyone else, anything else, any system, any entity that I may have unconsciously placed in this position, I revoke access, I revoke power, and I banish them from my being. I banish them from my existence, and I replace myself as the rightful king or queen or God, and I replace myself as the person on that throne. And speak that aloud every day, right? Pray and say it in your prayers. Speak it in front of the mirror in the morning and at night. Write it down on a sheet of paper 10 times a day, right? Say it in front of your altar and call your ancestors, whoever you pray to, right? Your God, right? Your religious God, if you believe, if that's where you, whatever your beliefs are, who cares, right? Just say it. Just speak it, because there is power in language. There's power in our voice, right? We don't have to do anything outside of ourselves initially, right? There's just power in the declaration of it. And if you speak it often enough, if you write it often enough, you'll begin to believe it. And then once you believe it, that's the key. Because the only thing that you can manifest in front of you, the only reality that you can live is the one that you believe, right? and what you believe you create. And so if you stop believing in this other system, in this other person, in these other people, if you stop believing in their power over your life and you start believing in your power over your life, right? You revoke that power, you revoke that access just by declaring it. Then what will happen is the universe will start to shift, and then circumstances in your life, events, things will happen in your life that reflect your declaration that eventually turned into your belief. So that's all I have to say. That's short and sweet, because it's such a complex topic, right? Of course, I advise anyone who's dealt with abuse or who's going through abuse to obviously seek out healing and supportive communities and therapy if possible, and spiritual help and all of the above, right? But the reason why I stated this is because I wanted some people to understand what the science behind it was, what the logic behind it was, and to understand it from a position of like a metaphysical science standpoint, to kind of put it as sort of a little bit of a math equation. Because once you, some people's brains can process information differently, and if you can process it that way, then it helps you to be like, oh, okay, A plus B equals C. Okay, so this is the next step of what I have to do. Okay, I understand why this is happening. I no longer need to look for all these different answers. I see a logical reason, and I see a logical solution. And it's about having faith in that solution, having faith that declaration is powerful. Declaration, everything that you see, right? You see this notebook here. Somebody, before it was created, right? You see this pen? Before it was created, somebody declared with their speech that it was going to be created. And then they declared how they wanted it to look, how they wanted it to function, the type of paper they wanted, that they wanted it to have a red cover, the material they wanted. Like, that was a declaration first, right? Somebody said it, and then they typed it in a document. They typed it in an email, right? They spoke to someone on the phone. They placed the order for the materials. That's how creating works, right? And so if we think that we could just speak whatever we want, or that it's crazy. We say whatever we want to say, right? We just talk. We don't even think before we talk, right? But then when it comes time to declare something that can create within our lives, we get scary. Not everybody, but if the shoe fits, wear it. I just want to make the point that our language, it shifts the atmosphere, especially when you're serious about what you're saying, even when you don't believe what you're saying. Because at first you may not believe what you're saying, right? But the more you say it, you know who you're saying it for, the atmosphere that's shifted around you, and yourself. The more you repeat something, the more you write something, the more you believe it. That's the reason why when you turn on the television, which a lot of people don't do these days, but you get this, anybody will get this. When you turn on the television or you turn on YouTube, right? There's all these ads and commercials. And They repeat themselves again and again. It's not even like the same commercial. It's not even like a different commercial. It's the same. I'll watch like one of my favorite shows, right, is I don't even want to say it, but it's like I love nature shows, so I'll watch anything that has to do with nature or hiking or outdoorsy stuff. I just like that. And they'll play the same commercial over and over, and they'll go back to the show, and then it'll go to a commercial break, and it'll be the same commercial that played 15 minutes ago. I'm like, how many times do I need to see this? But then I find myself singing the jingle, and now I know the word, the name of the company. How this get implanted into my brain? Repetition. If you read the Napoleon Hill's book Think and Grow Rich, he has a chapter that talks about repetition. He calls it auto-suggestion. It's when you another word for it is affirmation, right? Auto-suggestion, repetition, right? But the way that you do it is that sometimes affirmations people will say, I want this, or I want. You don't say I want, because if you say I want, you'll always want. You declare that it is so. And you declare that it's so. And that's it. You just declare it. After you are repeating this auto-suggestion, you're repeating it day in, day out, over and over again. You're writing it down. You're saying it. Oh, you don't have to say it to nobody. I wouldn't even say it to nobody, because people oftentimes, they'll tend to just shoot down whatever it is that you say if it makes them uncomfortable, or they don't believe it themselves about themselves. So you just say it to yourself. It's private. Actually, I prefer that. I would suggest that you keep that private and a secret, whatever you're declaring, until you manifest it. And you repeat it, repetition, you write it, you declare it as it being so. And eventually what happens is it's seeded in your subconscious mind. You believe it, and then the atmosphere will begin to shift. Events will happen, and don't be surprised if there's a little chaos, right? That's because that's why storms happen. That's why earthquakes happen, because there needs to be a little chaos for the atmosphere to shift, for you to move to the next timeline, to the next level in your life. And so that's all I wanted to share. The science of abuse and fear, right? How to move out of that reality into a new reality, using a practical, simple solution. Ashe, enjoy your day.